Tell me, how certain are you of the path that brought you to this exact chair? We walk through life imagining we are pulling along a neat, unbroken chain of events, a straight line stretching from your childhood through yesterday right up to this morning's coffee. But humour me for a moment. What if I told you that the universe, and every single memory tucked away in your head, was instantiated precisely 2 minutes ago? A cosmic execute button hit just before you clicked play on this video, complete with a fully rendered history that never actually happened. It's a dizzying thought, isn't it? The kind of philosophical thought trap that makes you want to throw your hands up and say, well, what's the point? If everything you remember is a fabrication, then you aren't the author of your own life. You're just a character loaded into a simulation, handed a fake backstory, and told to take it from there. It strips the ground right out from under your feet, rendering a lifetime of labour, love, and experience completely decorative. To me, it sounds like an express route straight to nihilism. It's a dead end, and a dangerous one at that, because it turns us into playthings. But it forces us to ask a harder question. If we can't trust the objective reality of our history, what can we trust? Fortunately, or perhaps unfortunately, we aren't a simulation running on a server set up last Thursday. We are an emergent consciousness running on biological hardware, and biology is notoriously messy. We like to think of our minds as high-definition video recorders. We think we can just rewind the tape and watch our lives play back, line by line, frame by frame. But the neuroscientists will tell you a very different story. Every time you recall a memory, you aren't playing a file, you are rebuilding it. Your brain is a storyteller. In fact, it's a storyteller with a severe bias toward emotional consistency over factual accuracy. If there's a gap in the history, a detail lost to time, a foggy afternoon from years ago, your brain doesn't panic. It simply fills in the blank with plausible fiction. It writes a book report on a book it only halfway read, and it makes dead certain that the ending satisfies the person you want to be today. Think about how you look at someone you know intimately. Our minds see that person as we know them to be, not necessarily how they actually are at any given moment. Let me explain. If you look at them and part of their face is obscured in shadow, your brain instantly switches to pattern recognition mode, fills in the missing features, and says, that's my person. But if you took a photograph at that exact millisecond, the camera would show you something entirely different, a face obscured by darkness. Our memories work the same way. Our minds fill them in with a pattern we recognise as our past. Our memories are not mirrors, my dears. They are interpretations. They are edited, polished, and smoothed over to keep us sane. Now, this brings us to a bit of a confession, because if our memories are by their nature unreliable in the sense that we are not seeing the moment in our mind's eye exactly as it was, we are seeing it in the way that our psyche allows us to view it, what do we do with the moments in our lives we know to be a fabrication? Let me tell you a secret. When I was a teenager, trying desperately to fit in with a crowd that had all sorts of wild stories to tell, I found myself sitting at lunch feeling terribly boring. I was well behaved. I hadn't done anything remotely scandalous. But being the well-behaved felt invisible. So I invented a story. I told my friends about a night of taking drugs with other friends. I practiced the details until I could see the entire scene in my mind's eye. I told it often enough that my brain actually filed it away as though it were a real memory. For years, part of my internal archive rested on a complete concoction that I was forced to defend as if it were actually a part of my own past, because everyone else believed it was. And do you know what the funny thing is? Most of the kids at that table were doing the exact same thing. We were all trading counterfeit currency, just trying to buy a sense of belonging. This is where the audit begins. You see, the story was a fabrication. It never happened. But the lesson underneath it, that was real as bone. The deep, aching desire to belong, the trap of peer pressure, the realization of how fragile our egos are, those were truths forged in the fire of that stupid, made-up story. An audit isn't about scrubbing your life clean of errors. It's about sitting down with your ledger, looking at the mess, the warts, the lunchtime stories you made up desperately trying to look cool, and asking a very simple question. Is this baggage or is this fuel? If you edit your life to make yourself a hero in every scene, you aren't living, you're writing fantasy. You are a daydreamer, floating away in a fog of self-aggrandizement. Humility requires you to look at the false stories, the embarrassing moments, and the outright failures, warts and all, and ask what they were actually trying to teach you. We carry so much weight around because we're terrified that if the timeline of our lives isn't pristine, we may be seen in an unflattering light. We spend our lives defending versions of ourselves that never existed, protecting narratives that fall apart the second someone shines a bright light on them. Let it go. It does not matter if the details of your past are historically watertight, whether that be because we know a moment to be false or because we falsely remember a moment. What matters is the integrity of the lesson you extracted from the wreckage. Did you learn kindness from your cruelty? Did you learn resilience from your failure? Did you learn how to stand up straight because you spent too many years slouching in fear? If the answer is yes, then the accuracy of the memory has served its purpose. You don't need a video recording of your life. You need a compass. And a compass doesn't care about the scenery you passed 3 miles back. It only cares about true north. This is not my own idea. I learned it from listening to a great thinker who used to talk about ancient stories, like Jonah and the whale. People get so caught up arguing over whether a man could actually survive inside the belly of a marine mammal for 3 days, they miss the entire point. Does it matter if the whale was real? Not in the slightest. What matters is the metaphorical truth. The truth that when life calls you to action, when you know quite well what you ought to be saying or doing, but you turn your back on it out of fear or comfort, you are fleeing your calling. And what happens when you flee? You are swallowed by the dark. You descend into the belly of your own avoidance, trapped in a prison of your own making, left to be digested by your own regret, until the torment becomes so absolute that you finally answer the call. Your memories work the same way. The specific narrative details aren't sacred scripture. The meaning is. Can we be certain of every detail of our lives? No, we cannot. The nature of our memories is imperfect. Can we still find the usefulness in them? Absolutely. In fact, we are called upon to do so. If you spend your life running from your own history, pretending you never made mistakes, pretending you were always the victim or always the hero, you are inviting the monster from the deep to swallow you whole. The only way out of the belly of the whale is to turn around, look your life in the eye, and take responsibility for the part you played. So let the philosophers argue over whether we started existing last Thursday. Let the neuroscientists map out every hallucination and confabulation your tired brain cooked up to keep you feeling safe. It doesn't change the texture of the ground beneath your feet right now. Yesterday is a well-meaning but possibly unreliable account written by a biased, loving, imperfect mind. Tomorrow hasn't even been printed yet. Today is the only page where you actually get to hold the pen. You cannot change a single word of what came before. You can only look at it with clear eyes, take the wisdom, drop the baggage, and choose your next step with intention. Make it a good one, my dears. If my logic resonated with you, dear heart, please do consider joining the community here. A like or a subscribe helps ensure our library reaches others who might need these tools. And please, if you feel my documentation is missing a piece, or if you believe I've erred in my delivery, do tell me in the comments. I would dearly love to hear your perspective. Iron sharpens iron, as they say. In any case, I truly hope to see you back here for our next entry.